After a massive strike involving over 8,400 workers over 10 days, Kroger employees have finally won themselves a new contract. This is an update on a story that we covered in regard to striking workers in Denver, Colorado. And the update is super exciting. So let me give you the details. Workers at the Denver area King Soopers grocery stores approved a new 3-year contract on Monday that includes wage increases of more than $5 an hour for some employees. The contract also creates more full-time employment opportunities and more stringent workplace safety measures. Now, remember when we originally covered the story and why the workers were striking in the first place, it had to, yes, do with the wages, but it also had to do with the fact that the employer was purposely avoiding full-time shifts so they didn't have to pay for certain benefits. And they have now been able to handle that matter effectively as a result of the workers organizing and striking. And just to be clear, King Soopers is a division of Kroger's, okay? So Kroger supermarkets, it's the same company under Ralph's and King Soopers and all of that. Now this shows how organizing works in some cases. It also shows the power of labor unions, especially in the context of major corporations like Kroger's. Strikes absolutely work, says Kim Cordova. She says that it shows the company that they can't run without workers. We're hoping that we set the bar so that other workers in this country will follow suit. So that's one of the reasons why we cover these stories, Francesca. It's a way to kind of inspire people, especially as they're let down over and over again by the federal government. There are ways that you can take action, especially in your immediate environment.
Yeah, also talk about the mainstream media, like complete blackout when it comes to successful strikes, right? Like they really never talk about it. I think the mainstream media is good at talking about healthcare workers. They're better at talking about nurses and doctors. But when it comes to the essential workers that they participated in the framing and the rhetoric around, as we all did after, when the pandemic began, grocery workers were part of those essential workers, right? And grocery stores were staying open. Grocery stores made hand over fist billions, like windfall in the last couple of years, thanks to the pandemic. And so guess what? Expect your workers to demand more. And if you keep on telling people they're essential, they're gonna wanna be paid a livable wage. And once again, if our minimum wage actually kept pace with inflation, it would be over $20 right now. Let's understand, it hasn't budged since 2009. So of course you're gonna get this, and good on them, man. It is not easy. It's cold out in Colorado. Your CEO of Kroger's took home like $23 million in 2020 as like a bonus, Meanwhile, like all their hazard pay got cut. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I'm glad.
That's exactly right. I actually want to remind the audience about the hazard pay situation, because in the beginning of the pandemic, since they're essential workers and they had to really put themselves out there, put themselves in risk in order to ensure that we still had, the ability to buy groceries, they got hazard pay, but it was later cut off. So first, let me give you some details about their wage and what Francesca is saying about inflation is so important. Wage analysis of the top paid King Soopers food clerk in Colorado between 2010 and 2020 showed a 16% increase to $19.16 an hour. Wow, that sounds pretty good, except adjusted for inflation though, that's a 3% reduction in pay. Kroger offered hazard pay to workers after the pandemic began, but ended the payment after just 2 months. That's it, 2 months. Despite the chain's sales going up by 30% in 2020. And this was one of my favorite comments from Kim Cordova. She's the head of the union representing these workers. She said this: the companies were thriving, but our workers didn't thrive. Know what our workers got? COVID, attacked, beat up, spit on, slapped, overworked. And the company, they did great. They did absolutely great sitting behind their desk doing their job by Zoom. And let me just be clear, Kroger has a significant net worth of $84 billion, and the company's CEO makes $22 million a year. And so clearly, they could afford to improve the working conditions for the workers in addition to giving them the compensation that they're asking for, that they deserve. But remember, simply asking politely for it doesn't go far enough. These workers had to strike in order to get what they wanted, and they had the protection that's offered by the union representing them in order to do so. So again, we share these stories with you because while things might seem hopeless, it's also important to celebrate the wins that we're seeing on a company to company level, on a local level, for instance, because people are still taking action and they're making some serious progress as a result of that. But I'm gonna end this with one quote because a columnist for the Denver Post, some woman named Krista Kafer, who's a big proponent of school choice, said this about crossing the picket line. She's very proud of herself. She crossed the picket line. She was like, I did it, everyone. I'm very proud. She said this in regard to doing so. I thought nothing of crossing the picket line at King Soopers last week before an agreement was reached and the picket stopped. What a job pays is a matter of market forces, compassionate capitalism, not a contest between good guys and bad guys. I'm not going to serve as a prop in that play. If Kroger employees don't get the raises they want, they owe it to themselves to check out new opportunities elsewhere. As my dad taught me, you're not owed anything in this life. Just remember statements like that when you hear Mark Cuban claiming that compassionate capitalism is a thing. It's not a thing. There's no morality involved. It's all about profit.
There's so much disdain, Anna. Like I just feel like that's the same kind of person that will stage a conniption fit, like go ape because somebody got their latte order wrong, like that's the kind of entitled attitude of like, if you don't like it, it's a love it or leave it attitude whenever anyone criticizes, like we should, our government's behavior, our employers' behavior. Like just because you want to fix it, you should leave. And by the way, let's remember that people are resigning en masse, and there are workers and a lot of grocery stores that are trying to sweeten the pot to attract more workers. So yeah, I also want to say that the other thing that I think about when these strikes are successful is the fact that there are a lot of dark moments in strikes where you don't know if it's going to be successful. And in Kroger's case, they tried to get a restraining order against people who were on the picket line, their own workers trying to get a restraining order for them just being outside protesting, right? I mean, you've got Amazon's changing stoplights outside of Bessemer, Alabama, where they tried to unionize at a warehouse. So there's so many tactics, and at the end of the day, they pulled through and they can continue to pull through. And not only that though, and you know this, when you have a win in the labor movement, man, that's galvanizing. Because there's probably a lot of other workers who were like naysaying from the beginning, and now they're like, oh, okay, look at that. Look at that,
Yeah.
And then it's politicizing and galvanizing.
Yeah, galvanizing is the right word. Not only in the context of their workplace, but across the country. And that's why we're seeing this labor militancy for the first time in literally decades. And that's the only thing that's really giving me real hope. People ask me oftentimes like, how do you manage to remain sane with all the terrible news you cover every day? And it's because there are wins and we need to acknowledge them and celebrate them when we see them. And this is a good example of that.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.